Stephanie. So anyway, let's get straight to it. So I am super excited to have you today.
Thank you.
And for those that weren't on last week's call, this is a new thing that we are starting, and I have to give all the kudos to Mrs. Gay. She was the one that really came up with this idea. And at first we were talking about just kind of spotlighting on social media and doing that. And we're still going to try to do some of that. And I think some of it came from the Women's Month, which was in National Women's Month, I believe was in March. And we tried to spotlight many of our ladies. But from here, what we really want to do is turn this into a podcast. And, you know, we've got some ideas. We've got to get the equipment. We've got to get the room set and everything. So this is, I hope from this, if we do get this into a podcast, you'll come back and meet with us. So last week we did Stephanie. It was a great meeting. Like I said, I think at the meeting the other day, there wasn't a dry eye on the call. And you know, and this is really for our team to get to know some of our best and brightest, learn from our best and brightest. And then certainly as we grow this, we may certainly invite other, you know, agents from other companies to come in and share with us as well. You know, that's one thing great about our real estate industry is we all cooperate with each other. We compete, but we cooperate. And it's so different than really any other industry that I'm aware of. So anyway, let's get straight to it. I'm going to give you a big, broad question. Tell me about yourself. Born and raised in El Paso, right?
Absolutely.
I want to know all about Minerva from the early years on, and then we'll go from there.
Excellent. Thank you, Frank, for having me. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I'm a native El Pasoan, very proud. I love my city. My children are in Dallas. I have a daughter in Dallas. I have a son in Arizona and another one in Denver. And they've all asked me, come on, Mom, move over here. And I'm like, no, I love El Paso. I have my mom here, a brother and sister, so I have no plans on moving anytime soon. Just to tell you a little bit, my mom was a single mother and she raised 4 kids. It wasn't easy. It was very challenging. She worked 2 jobs. And on the weekends, she worked at the swap meet. And so my uncle, and he really wasn't my uncle by blood, but we called him uncle. He used to pick me up when I was 10 years old and take me with him to the swap meet. And there he sold cassette tapes, 8-track tapes, you know, and I was out there hustling at 10 years old, selling it and, you know, boom boxes and all that. And he had a store on Dyer Street. So by the time I was 15, I was actually running that store for him. I would open it. He would take me there to open it on weekends. In the summers, I was there all the time. But I was there on the weekends. He would open it up and then go in the evening to close it up, take all the money, give me a ride home. So I learned at a really young age, what is the responsibility of running a business and you know, at 19, I was running a store in Cielo Vista Mall. I mean, so at a really young age, I learned the value of working hard and making money and being responsible. So I love that. And so this takes me where I am today in my life. And I think, so my husband and I owned the Gunslinger Western Wear store. We had that store for 22 years. And I would say in 2004 was when I kind of thought, okay, we both looked, the business wasn't doing as well. And so I thought one of us has to do something. And so I told my husband, why don't you leave and I'll run the store? And he goes, no, he goes, why don't you go look for something else? So I remember I told him, I said, I want to get my real estate license. He goes, no, it will take years before you'll start to see money. Okay. And so I actually went to UTEP and I spoke to an advisor because I still had about 2 semesters left before I could graduate. I never really got to graduate because I married when I was 20 years old. And so I went back to UTEP and to talk to an advisor to go back to school. And I told him it's between that or real estate. He looked at me and he literally got up and practically closed the door enough so that nobody could hear him. And he says, go back, go get your real estate license. He says, don't get into this field, your age, et cetera, et cetera. And so he says, but real estate is killing it right now. Go into real estate. So I got into real estate in 2004, the year my daughter was graduating from high school. Wow. So I kind of wanted to go in there with the mindset that I can earn extra money to help her. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, the first year I got Rookie of the Year, I mean, it was just a perfect timing. I was killing it. I loved it. And so I can go on and on, but I'll let you ask me another question.
Well, actually, I want to circle back. So your uncle has you out working, doing the swap meets, right?
Yes, sir.
And then he has a place on Dyer, and then by that time he's letting you leave, run the store by
Absolutely,
yourself.
Yeah.
I assume what was he selling at the store? That
It
same
was
stuff?
boom boxes, tape boxes,
Okay.
music. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I'd turn on the music full blast and I'd be dancing when nobody was there.
At the end of the day, but his business was based on sales, and so you started at a young age in the sales.
Yes.
In sales. So it wasn't just having the work ethic, which is such an important piece of it, but it's understanding. Because I tell this to people all the time. I think you would appreciate this and agree. We're not in the real estate business. We're in the people business.
Absolutely.
And
Customer service.
exactly. And so, was that a key? Was there something during that time that really kind of opened your eyes, or was it even working the swap meets of kind of like, okay, if I can engage people, not only maybe explain my knowledge of the product, your product knowledge, but also create that relationship. Was there something there along the lines that you learned at an early age?
I learned a lot. I always was very outgoing. I love people. I love communicating. I had clients come back just to talk to me. I mean, they would come back and they would pull up a chair and we would talk, and I just build relationships at a very young age, even through high school. I was in clubs, I was in organizations.
Sure.
So I always loved being involved. I mean, even with my children, which I have 3 kids, I was always either the president of the PTA or vice president of the PTA, president of every booster club they were ever in, or vice president.
Right.
I was always raising money, doing something, just very involved in my kids' lives.
That's great. So you get out of school, you go to college, don't finish, get married, have kids, have a business, which anyone that has owned a business, you've got good times and bad times. I'm sure there were plenty of those, and the struggles of, when you're depending on all the things that kids require and the cost of sports and school and clothes and everything. And then you said there was a certain time that the store, you felt like there was something else you needed to do to either bring income into the family, that the store wasn't producing as well. Besides real estate, was there anything else that you were looking at?
Well, actually, I was going for a business degree.
Okay.
So when I married my husband, he had the shootout in Cielo Vista Mall.
Okay.
His brothers owned the Gunslinger in Bassett Center. And
Okay.
so 2 of his brothers decided they were going to open up right there off of Hawkins inside the Popular Mattress Building. Well, I wasn't very happy with that because we had the shootout in Cielo Vista. So I told my husband, wait a minute, this is going to compete with what we're doing. It's too close to home, etc. And so they ended up talking to him about it. He says, well, let me go into business with you. So the 3 of them ended up opening up the Gunslinger inside the Popular Mattress Building. Unfortunately, one of his brothers passed away like within a year. When that happened, seriously, my husband said, I'm going to sell both business and we're moving to Syria. I was like, hey, wait a minute. I said, wait a minute. And that's when I said, I would really love to have the opportunity to work with you. Let me in there, let me help. And if we can't get the business going, because the business had only been open like a year and a half, I don't think even 2 years. And it wasn't doing so well in that location. And I said, you focus more on the shootout in Cielo Vista. Let me come and run this business full time. And we had my daughter at the time, so we had to get a live-in maid to help us. And so I started working with him. And I said, all the money's generated through the shootout, so we generate the money through there, and let's not take any money out of this business and put it all back in. And so we started doing that. And let me tell you, that business just grew and grew and grew. And we had it for 22 years. We're very, very blessed.
Wow. Well, the reason I was asking, and thank you for sharing that, is I think it's very common that a lot of people that own a business, at some point, if one of the spouses feels that the business is not doing as well, I need to go get a job or something. But you chose to go into real estate.
Right.
I mean, so what you really did is you chose to get into to open another business.
That was the key, to be honest with you. I wanted to be self-employed.
Got it.
I got used to being self-employed. I wanted to be able to set my own hours. I had 2 boys that were still in high school. One was a freshman and one was a sophomore. So I wanted to make sure I still had the time for them, because to me, family is my number one, is my main priority. And so I wanted to make sure I was still able to get involved in the things that they did. So that really worked well. And I gotta tell you this little story. I was at it was a 31 Flavors, and this lady walks in and she was really darling, and we started talking, and she was a realtor, and I had just gotten my license, and she said she had 6 kids. And I said, how do you do it? How do you do it? I mean, with 6
Right.
kids. She goes, Minerva, it's very simple. She goes, I get a calendar, and whatever my kids do, I mark it as if it's an appointment. So I would mark those days down as if they were appointments. So this way I don't miss what my kids do. And so, boy, listening to her, I went home, got my calendar, and I just wrote down everything my kids did, and I made sure I didn't miss anything. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's get straight into real estate if we can. And I certainly would love to
Absolutely.
do with kids, but I think I want, obviously some takeaways. You've got probably a lot of great things to share of what to do and what not to do. You get your license in 2004, and what was the time frame and the cost before you kind of, was there a time frame before you sold your first home? Like in my case, it was 6 months, and it was really tough. I put a lot of money into it, and my support system kind of started crumbling, because it's like, okay, you're 6 months of this thing, and what the hell's going on?
Right.
How did it go for you? Tell me
Oh
your
gosh, it was,
journey.
I'll never forget. I was very lucky at the time. I was with Century 21 APD. Alberto was with me there too.
Okay.
Great company. We had an opportunity to sit for builders, so that was really helpful. That helped me start business. But I remember one time I was walking down on Upper Valley Road. I used to do a lot of walking around there, and my neighbor, no, I was driving, I wasn't walking, I take it back. And my neighbor was coming the opposite direction, and she looks at me and she's like honking, like stop, stop. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I stop on the side of the road, and she comes and parks next to me, and she says, Minerva, she says, my husband, we're gonna sell our home. And she says, my husband's already interviewing 3 agents, and I want to give you an opportunity. I'd only been in the business 3 months. And I was like, this is a nice home. Okay, we're talking about $500,000. It's a big home. And I wasn't very experienced, but I remember I said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna ask one favor. Leave me for last. Let me be the last agent you interview. She goes, okay. So she talked to their husband. They called me back. She goes, okay, at 6 o'clock, it was, a certain day on the evening at 6 o'clock. It was fine. That day at my son's soccer practice, I had the contract. I had everything in front of me, the comps, everything. And I'm literally studying this as if I was going to take an exam.
Right.
I was like studying it and studying it and studying it. And so I said, okay, I dropped him off, got ready, went to, my interview, and he's having dinner. And he says, Minerva, have a seat, do you mind, I'm having dinner, join me. And I go, oh, I'm not really hungry. I was so stressed. My stomach was in a knot. I was like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to sit down and have dinner. And he says, okay, he goes, well, do you mind giving me your interview while I'm eating? I said, sure, so I started going and going and going. I was super excited. And when I was done, he says, wow. He goes, how long have you been doing this? And I says, 3 months. And I go, and how many listings do you have? And I'm like, I don't have any, but let me tell you. I said, because I don't have any, I'm going to give all my attention to you. I says, everything I've got is going to go into selling your home.
Love it.
And he just looked at me and he goes, Minerva, I would have never guessed you've only been in business for 3 months. He goes, you got it. You got my listing. I was like, ah.
And would you say, obviously, it was your life experiences, being a business owner,
oh yeah,
the going through the ebbs and flows, the good days and the bad days, the good times and bad times, and then obviously probably going all the way back to the days that you were on, going to the swap meets and hustling 8-track tapes and cassette tapes. So
all of it.
that's
Absolutely.
So that's amazing. So that was your first. So, and did that give you the confidence? And not that you didn't have it, but you obviously had to go and really portray that. Was that really the pinnacle? Did it start from there?
Yes, I started getting more Upper Valley listings because I was marketing the
Sure.
Upper Valley, and I remember a really top agent walking in and telling me, man, I noticed you're picking up a lot of Upper Valley listings. And I'm like, yeah, it's like super excited, but I was getting the attention of some of the top agents here in El Paso. But from there, I ended up picking up a builder, and then I started, I focused my energy a different way. And I've been working with builders for many, many years.
So I've got quite a few questions I want to get to. I may have to use my cheat sheet here, but I want to focus on this time period, because for those that have been in this business for a long time, such as ourselves, 2007, 2008, really 2009 was a shift in this industry like no one's ever seen before. And though El Paso did not have some of the drastic shift that some of the other markets did, it still had a shift. So you get into the business of 2004, which is probably the next year, 2005. Literally, we've still not even recovered nearly the 2005 numbers as far as one of the best years in the history of our industry.
Absolutely.
So you're new, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you probably start hearing 2006, 2007, you're probably still having business doing well, but you're hearing other places like Florida, Vegas, Phoenix are starting to have some struggles and stuff like that. Did you experience any of that? And or was there anything that abruptly just changed coming into 2008, 2009 that really was like an eye opener for you? Like, what the hell just happened?
Right. You
That
know,
happened to a lot of people
but I'll be
new.
frank with you. I'll
Yeah.
be really frank with you, Frank.
Frank, please.
You know, to me, I took a different outlook. I took a different mindset. I said, okay, you need to reinvent the wheel. When something like that happens, you've got to be creative. And so I started going out to, Horizon, going out to, I did all of El Paso. I was mainly Upper Valley, West Side.
Sure.
But at that point, I thought, the heck, I'll do it all.
Got it.
And so I was driving to Horizon. I was doing things that truly I heard West Side agents say, I will only do West Side. And that's not me. And I said, I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, my mindset by then, we're still struggling on the business. You see what I'm saying? But by then my husband also got his license in 2009.
Right.
So he came in and we started working more as a team. That was my first team, was with my husband and I. So I started just looking at things a little different and just deciding, you know what, I've got to go out there and hustle and just do whatever it takes. And that's the mindset I took. And I was driving everywhere, all over El Paso.
So we have some husband and wife teams. I think there's one or two on the call here. How did it differ in real estate and working with your husband versus working in owning a business? Was there anything? No, I mean, because I think everybody has different experiences.
Yeah, it was not easy
Uh-huh.
because the tables had changed. Okay. When I worked at the Gunslinger, okay,
Mhm.
I always looked at my husband to make it easier for us. He's the boss. He owns the business. And my mindset was like, I work for him. And it was easier that way. I ran all the ladies department. I'd go to market. I ran the kids department. I loved working there. But for us to work together, I took everything through him, and everything I wanted to do would always go through him. I gave him the respect as the owner of the company.
Sure.
Okay. When he came and got his license and started working with me, it was hard because
There was a new boss.
Oh yeah, and he wanted to tell me how to run my business. I
Right.
go, look, I've been doing this now
Right.
for several years, doing fine. I don't need you to come in and tell me
Sure.
how to do my business. So we were clashing quite a bit, but we decided to put different roles for one another. So you manage this part of the business, I'll manage this part of the business. So I was out hustling, getting the listings and, showings and all of that. He was more the doing the paperwork, administration work.
Sure.
And so we worked better that way, and that's how we seemed to make it work. But he messed up sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. My son also got his license and came on the team.
Wow.
And so I find
It's a family event.
yeah, but I find that working with family was tough. I mean, it was tough because my son and I, we've always had a really awesome relationship, but when we work together, we also had a tendency to clash. But it's because I'm very demanding.
No, and I think that's fair. I mean, and Lauren and I have these conversations sometimes because I will probably say something to Lauren about something that I may not say to you, even though we work together. And and I think and vice versa. And I think some of us will take that personally, and certainly I would as well, and she has as well. And when we see us working with other people, and maybe we're not as vocal or as honest, maybe that's the right word, that we are with our family members. So I think somebody said that there's something special about people that can work well together. And I think it takes time. I think you learn sometimes, I hate to say it's just like a marriage. You pick your battles, right? And so that's interesting. So best decision regarding real estate, what was the best decision you ever did besides getting into it? I assume that was your best decision. But was there anything you could share? And then I want to know the worst as well. So
okay. The best I would say was hiring an admin.
Okay.
Was one of my best decisions.
And you got a rock star.
And I got a rock star. Man, I'm blessed with Nell. I really am. But hiring an admin is important because it gave me the opportunity. Because my husband left, he went to go represent, he became a sales rep for Desert View Homes.
Right. You said enough about this.
Yeah. That was really hard,
Right.
because, I mean, I broke out in shingles twice, you guys. I mean, this has not been easy for me. It's been a tough business for me. So I got too stressed out, and so I immediately had to start looking for an admin. I've been blessed with nails, so that's number one. And I would tell anybody, if your business gets to the point where you're, not be able to sleep at night, you're too stressed out, get somebody relieve you, even though it's gonna cost you a little bit of money. It gives you some freedom in your life as well. It allows me to take a little trip here and there, to do a little bit more with my family. So admins are very important. The next most important thing that I did was invest in real estate. Y'all, we're not getting a check when we retire. And if you don't have a job that you did prior to this, your social security is not going to cut it. So I decided to invest in real estate. So I have, a few homes here in El Paso. I've got one in Dallas, and I have a triplex as well. And so my goal right now is to try to get those paid off so that I can eventually semi-retire, because I don't think you truly ever really retire from real estate. You can always sell a home here and there.
Sure.
Sure. Now the worst,
Yeah.
okay? The worst was going into business with the wrong person. You seriously need to think and be very cautious as to who you go into business with. And I had to learn that the hard way. So I would tell everybody, do your homework, do some research, make sure where did they come from, what did they do prior before you decide to team up with somebody. I think that's really important.
Without, naming names or anything, in what type of relationship was this? Was this a partnership that you tried to do, a real estate partnership?
Yes.
Or for sales?
In real estate, and for sales. We,
Okay.
we decided, they really wanted to get in, and so I decided, because their experience, it would be a good thing. But you realize later that it was probably the worst decision you've ever done in your life. So when it gets to that point where it's a very serious bad decision that you've just made, and as you're further going into it and you're realizing, man, this was not a good idea, getting out could be just as hard. So you've got to be really cautious with what you do. I mean, it got to the point where they try to hurt your reputation, hurt your business, in so many ways. And this is your livelihood, you guys. And so you got to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row. So I was able to prove that this what they were saying was not true.
No.
So it was really hard to have to go back and have to do that. So if I had to do it all over again, I would say, please be careful who you go into business with.
So wise advice. And just to piggyback, because you and I have similar journeys. Some of the best coaching I ever got was I started off pretty quickly. So I think my first 6 months, my last 6 months, believe it or not, I had right at 50 properties. Now a lot of these were multiple properties, one investor to own 10 properties, stuff like that. So it wasn't, but I was very blessed. But I also, my family owned a large property management company, so we had a lot of relationships and things. Great advice. I hired, I didn't want to do it, but I was told to. I hired an assistant, investing an admin person. She ended up getting licensed. Then we hired another admin person. But it was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. I had young children at the time, and I was probably getting ready to. If I hadn't done that, I'd probably been out of the business in a couple of years. I couldn't keep up with it, and I wasn't enjoying it. And the second was, be careful who you get business with.
Absolutely.
I had a very different scenario. I hired my best friend who he's passed. I brought him in, and I'd gotten him a job with a builder, and he had killed it with the builder. I mean, killed it. Like, he was doing 50, 60 homes himself. Again, this is 03, 04, 05 during that time.
Right.
Heyday, and we were in Florida. Brought him in, and I literally watched my income go in half. I'm supporting 2 families now, and our business unfortunately just did not increase. The idea was it would. And I had to make some really hard decisions. Now I didn't have what you had. It was it wasn't that it was just I made a poor bad decision that I thought was for the right thing. So be very careful about that. And I would always say, for any of you guys that are looking at maybe teaming up or doing something like that, reach out to the Minervas of the world, or the Franks of the world, or the people that have, probably gone down some of these paths before. And I'm not saying, and some of them are wonderful, by the way. There's some, especially husband-wife teams, there's some that are just dynamic. They really understand. They have kind of, one stays in their lane and the other stays in their lane. And I think it does they do very well. Anyway,
But you mentioned, the other thing I want to mention here that's really important and that I help, we did struggle. My husband and I, we had, in 2009, we almost filed for bankruptcy after we closed our business. And he came to me and told me, I want to file for bankruptcy. My biggest concern at that time was because I was flipping houses, for about 2 years.
right,
And so your credit is everything.
Yeah.
And so I was really worried. So I suggested that we sell our home. We had a large home in the valley and there's a lot of equity in there. So I thought, let's sell this home and let's pay off all our debt. My daughter was getting married in 2010. So that money we were able to also use for the wedding. And we bought the house that we live in now in the Franklin Hills. So everything just worked out so well. And the other thing is I took a Dave Ramsey course, guys. If there's anything I would advise even my own children, which they're not listening to me, is to take a Dave Ramsey course. That, OMG, I cannot even tell you how much that changed my life. 3 of the things that I would say that it helped me, and this is why I'm sharing this with you all, because I think it's very important, is I consolidated all my credit cards. Okay. And I went to the bank and I got a loan. At that time, I got it at 7%. Your credit cards back then were at 20, 23.
sure.
So I was able to pay off, not close, but pay off my credit cards and now pay at a 7%. So I saved an immense amount of money there. I also consolidated, I went ahead and I got my insurance. Okay. My insurance, I changed on how I was paying my insurance. So I got a higher equity, what is it called? Deductible, higher deductible, so that my payments would be less. I did that. And then the funniest thing was my children had a different company with the phone line. I had a different one, my husband. We were all paying all these different, so I consolidated all 3 together and we saved about almost $400 back then. So we were able to save, I just made a lot of changes, positive changes too.
Awesome. All right, a couple more questions and then we're gonna kind of do a lightning round here. We'll have to be succinct because it's already 9:50. We're having so much fun here. Biggest challenges, in real estate. Fine.
Right now or back then?
I want, today, you'll go back then, then go today.
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, was what I was telling you, is getting the wrong partner. Yeah, I
Okay.
think that was the big challenge in my
Okay.
life. Right now, I think, we're dealing with a higher interest rate. You've got to know how to talk to your clients. One of the things I tell them is, I purchased a home. Our first home was in the 1980s, and interest rates back then were 16, 18%. So I try to tell my clients.
That was a good credit.
Yeah.
Right,
By the way. And I try to tell my clients, you can always refinance. So it's having, what really concerns me too is the value of the prices of our homes have gone up significantly.
Yes.
So right now, the average income household is about between 51 to 60 to 65,000. That's not even going to get you a home at 175. So you can't try to find them a home, and then when you do, there's also multiple offers coming in. So you have to be, it concerns me a lot of what I'm seeing happening in the market right now.
And and the sad part about that is we're still one of the much more economical,
Affordable,
exactly. Right words. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, so those are great. Next question, lightning round. Give us, 4 or 5 best practices. If you only got a couple, that's fine. But any best practices that you do on a regular basis, kind of like I was talking earlier about trying to calendar my day and my time to kind of create action items and things like that. Is there anything that you do that gets you through the day when you've got tons of meetings and you're trying to be a grandmother and a mother and a wife, and you've got all these other things, Lions Club and all these other charitable or nonprofit organizations that you do? What are best practices? How does Minerva make it through her day and not fall over?
You have to schedule your day. I'm a strong believer in scheduling my day. I have my calendar, but I make sure that I get 3 days out of the week exercise. I do my Pilates 3 days out of the week. But I wake up in the morning. I believe in doing your 5 touches. Okay, so I have a strong database, so I keep up with my database. I keep up with them via email, through social media, through calling them. But it's 5 touches. Just do that every day. Reach out to 5 people every day on your database, whether it's sending a note, an email, however you do it. But if you do that constantly, believe me, most of my business is a referral business right now. And I want to mention, I had a builder, I let him go last year in June of this month, last year I let them go. And it was because I wasn't getting any inventory I was their West Side, Upper Valley agent, and I was getting zero inventory. But my numbers, and I also keep track of your numbers, you all, look at your numbers, look at your stats, and I look at that. And we're not that off from last year, and this is without a builder. So my numbers are still there. Not the sales may not be as many sales, but you have to sell 3 houses for selling one because of the commission base. So my numbers as far as dollars amounts are very comparable to what I did last year.
So it was interesting. If I can share a little personal thing with my first meeting I had met Minerva in different scenarios in my last role. And when we made the announcement that, Lauren and I bought into the family of companies, Opinion Ted, I started meeting with a lot of different agents. I probably met with many of you. And so Minerva and I met, I remember like yesterday. Of course, we met right across the street from the Keller Williams office, but that was okay at Starbucks. And it was a great meeting. And you were telling me then that you would, that you were changing things up. You were hiring a coach, I think, at the time.
And I have a coach, yes.
And you were really going to laser focus. And I think a lot of that had to do with the decision around letting the builder go, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely. I knew I had to change things up. I do have a coach, a Tom Ferry coach. Jack is his name, awesome guy. And what he's had me do, and that's why you all see me doing more videos out there. He's got me doing more social media, getting out there. And so, he's pushing me. I fixed up my Google. I mean, I've gotten more reviews on my Google, which I never used to do. I used to tell everybody to go to Zillow. So that's another thing I'd like to tell you all is tell people to go on Google and put reviews on you there. So he's been giving me a lot of advice, and I think it's important. It's important to have someone that accountable, that holds you accountable, and that's important.
All right, last question. What do you get out of real estate? What, you started this in 2004 out of a need. You wanted to be self-employed, but you also needed to bring income in for the family. But here you are nearly 20 years, nearly 2 decades later.
Yeah.
We're a year away. That's amazing, right?
Right.
I mean, you've a third of your life you've been in this industry. What do you get out of it?
Oh my gosh,
First,
what don't I get out of it? I truly love what I do. I get emotional because I've been blessed.
it's okay. I mean, you know what? And I think that's great.
I've been blessed because everything.
No, it's okay. Well, maybe I can help.
No, let me help.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I've been blessed because nobody knows my childhood. It was really difficult. A lot of times we were forced to work. It was because my mom needed the income. And to be able to have married a man, 40 years, we've been married.
That right there is amazing.
3 amazing children and 3 grandkids. And I couldn't ask for more. Right now, somebody asked me, how does it feel that you're at this age? I'm 61 years old. And how does it feel that at this point, you're almost, you never know when you're going to die.
Right.
And I said, I can die tomorrow and I can die at peace, knowing that I've been blessed. And that's how I feel.
So
Sorry.
I was gonna say some tissues right there. I should have had that close by. And I didn't mean to strike a chord, but I think it's great because I think it's great to be vulnerable in these conversations because we all know each other and we see each other in meetings and they see you probably as I hate to call it an alpha female, but you are a very strong-willed kind of and I think it's great people see that. So I appreciate you sharing and getting that way. I'd like to ask one follow-up question to that, and then we'll open it up. And I know we're at the time, but we'll open up for some questions. Would you say today that most of your relationships that you have came from real estate itself?
A good portion of my real estate my relationships are from real estate.
Yeah.
But I also have a tremendous amount of friends. I keep old friends from high school. I just keep in touch. And when I go to Vegas, I visit my oldest and dearest friend. We've been since the 3rd grade.
Wow.
So I am one that keeps in touch with my friends, and I truly do love them, and I've been very blessed.
I saw something the other day, and I mentioned this somewhere. I'm gonna probably screw it up right here, but you know, it is easier to in real estate. It's easier to make friends that were make friends from clients than to make friends clients. And so, you know, how it's harder to get your friends to do business with you. But the beautiful thing about our industry is that, you know, these are in many cases complex sales, in some cases not so much, but complex as far as there's a sales process that in many cases is 30, 45, 60 days. You're doing new construction, 9 months, whatever it could be. And I think, you know, I look back, next year's 30 years for me in this industry.
Yeah.
I know. And I'm like sitting there thinking, like, I'm hiring people. I've got recruiting appointments, people that are like, I've been in this business long as they've been alive. I'm like, what? Daniel, I don't know if he's on the phone today, but he was 28 years, asked me, how old are you? 28. I was like, God,
Yeah.
I was out showing property and writing contracts and selling it, and he was born. It's nearly, you know, I met my wife through real estate. I mean, it's
beautiful.
It's, you know, and I'm just, it's been so blessed. I've been so blessed through the industry and to know so many people. And I mean, Penny and Ted, met them through it, and they're some of my dearest friends. And yes, we're business partners. But my point is that, you know, I would have never met them. I would have never even probably come to El Paso if I hadn't been in the industry in some capacity. And so it's been great to me. And I've had the good days and the bad days, just like, you know, the ebb and flow. And I've been on top, and I've been on like, why the hell am I even doing this anymore? You know, and we all have those
You're
days.
good at it.
Well,
You're very
thank
good.
you. Let's open it up. Thank you so much for just being vocal.
No, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that was great. I think we all want to see that, and that's my hope.
I didn't mean
It's
to.
not to get people to cry on this, or
No,
that's not my goal, but my goal is for people to really be themselves. So who's got questions for Minerva?
So
Hey, Minerva.
Minerva, okay, I'm sorry. So I personally have, like, if I was going to talk to new agents, like things, advice that I wish, like personally, I would do from the beginning better. What will be one of the things, Minerva, in your situation that if you see a new agent, you will tell, you know what, I strongly recommend doing this, so it will be a shortcut based on your experience that they will be probably more productive and you know, especially for the new agents.
Okay, good question, Alberto. One of the things that I tell my team, and I highly recommend that you all do, I opened up an LLC, but in doing that, I opened up a business bank account. So what I do is I put all of my commission checks in there. Everything goes in there, and I pay myself like a salary. You know, I pay myself a certain amount every month, and that's it. And that's all I spend. And the reason why, because the money I have saved in there, I am now using that. I use that money to invest in buying properties. And so I think it's so important that, like I mentioned earlier, you have got to, you know, purchase real estate while you can. I wish I would have done it sooner. I mean, I think my first property I purchased maybe 9 years ago, 8, 9 years ago was my first property. I should have done it. If I had to do it all over again, I would have done it, you know, 19 years ago, 18 years ago. I think I waited a little too late to do that. So I would tell anyone coming into this industry, open up a separate account and run it like a business, run your business like a business.
One of the things that I would piggyback on that is, you know, I agree with you that, you know, we'll probably be into our 70s, Lord willing, we make it that long, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still doing something with real estate. You never really quit. But, you know, one of the things that I want to super focus on for all of us and the industry is succession plan for the industry. And if it's, and for books of business. And if it's not, if you don't have, like my kids, I mean, have been point blank, like, we'll never get real estate, Dad, because Dad was gone a lot. And they, you know, they love the fruits and the benefits that the business brought to us, but they also knew that, you know, Dad had to miss things, and so, you know, and that's hard as a parent, because, you know, you want to be there for everything, but you also want to provide. And I think it's probably even harder for men. And maybe that's I'm not trying to be sexist by any means. I think there's still, at least in our generation, my generation, probably some of your generation, that we feel like, you know, it's our job to provide, right? I think it's very probably a lot different than the younger generations now. But I love that you're really kind of telling about people investing. It's something even at a late age that Lauren and I are talking, and Lauren harps on a lot, like we need to do this, we need to really do this. And we kind of started, and then you take different directions and you turn, and then you say, okay, well, let's go ahead and liquidate or do this or do that in life. And I think it's something, we're very focused in as well. It's like, okay, this business has been good to us. It's given us so many different things. We need to kind of set our future in line. So I applaud you for doing that. Who else has got a question or comment?
Yeah, mine wasn't a question. It was more of a comment. I loved how you briefly touched, Minerva, on your concern of the current market. Being able to hear it from somebody who obviously has so much more experience than I, right? So I feel like I'm still a newbie, right? So I have a lot to learn still, and being able to, when I think of something that, oh my gosh, I'm looking at what the local market and what the local people can afford, right? It brings a concern to me, but yet I don't have the experience and the knowledge to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? So hearing it from you, being a little bit more, obviously lots more experience than I, that you have something that you can possibly share with us, the newer crowd, right? And kind of like brief us on what you think and see. But then also, I wrote it down too, because we had so much going on and I lost it. There was something else, and if I remember it, I'll comment on it later. But thank you so much for sharing. And I love your experience, because I remember when I first joined, that's when I met you at the other brokerage. And I've learned from you watching you.
Thank you very much, Muddy.
Any other comments on, for new agents or the market today? Thoughts from her point?
Just you're just going to have to work a little bit more and be more creative. Even with your VA clients, when there's multiple offers, talk to the lender and make sure. I just had a buyer recently, and it was really sad because you think the lender is telling them this, but the lender never explained to them that they were going to have to come with a closing cost. They never explained to them that they were going to have to pay, earnest money. Never knew. They thought zero, come in and nothing. And I'm like, you have inspections, you have a home inspection, you have a termite inspection that you have to do.
Right.
And so when I started talking to him and everything, he was like, got really upset because he thought, well, I thought I can buy a house and I didn't have to put anything down. I'm a VA. I'm like, so it's really, educate your clients as much as possible, because sometimes they think they can go out there. And one of the things that we did, and my team and I taught them this, and it's and I'd like to share this with you all, is if your VA buyer has money to put down, okay, now of course you got to talk to your lender who you're working with, okay? Then let's say it's 150,000, they're putting 20,000 down, so the balance is 130. It says loan amount, so the loan amount is 130, so it only has to appraise at 130. You see what I'm saying? And so that's something that I would tell. That's huge, and I'm telling you guys, it works, because I would tell when you're going against multiple offers, and I would then explain it to the listing agent who had no idea. I said, listen, this is on the loan amount. So they're only needing to have the home appraised at 130. So then now your client has an opportunity to get that offer accepted. You see? And that's one of the things, one of the tricks that, we do that helped out for our VA clients.
That's great. Hey, one thing, not to pitch HPRE Edge, because again, guys, as I said the other day, we don't make a penny on Edge deals. So it's not something that we're trying to drive. But if you're in that situation that, there are multiple offers going in and you feel that you're not going to be as strong coming in with a VA deal, you can utilize the cash offer program. It's going to cost your buyer 1%. However, we've gone over this multiple times. We can share more information. So if it's a $200,000 home, $2,000, yes, but you're going in with a cash offer, you're going with a stronger offer. You may still be able to purchase the home for a little less because you're strong. They still may consider your offer over other offers, and so you may get a good deal from that perspective. Who knows? But the point is that we have that program for you. So if you are hitting, and I think that's going to be when we start to see the market shift. We use that word a lot. Shift happens, right?
Yeah, shift happens.
And so, you know, and when we do see the market shift, and I hate to give that too much, because I'm giving a lot of credit to Gary Keller right now, but he is brilliant. So I'm okay
I
with
love
that.
him.
Yeah. So, in that scenario, I mean, these are where these programs are really going to stand out, and they're going to be nearly, I hate to say, essential and necessary, because there
Absolutely.
is so much cash in the market, unlike anything else we've really seen before. That's really about the last decade or so. So anyway, great information. One more question, and we probably need to call it. I think we're well past our time here, yet we're 10 minutes after. And one more question for Minerva. Anything?
Well, it's not actually a question. I just want to congratulate you, Minerva. I admire you. You have inspired me and really touched me with your magic dust.
Thank you, dear. You're
Thank
a
you.
smart. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Anyone else? Any other comments, questions? I know I said only one.
I want to say something, and it is not a question, it is, and most of us, I believe we know, I met Minerva a long time ago. To me, it's a long time ago when I was beginning, like 10 years, something like that. I remember it was an open house, your son was there, he just got his license, and Samir was there. And you may not remember, and that is the key, because we do not know who we inspired. And Minerva with, and I'm getting sentimental here, and which I think that is powerful when we get sentimental, because that is the touching of the heart. You inspire me, your family inspire me, and you may not know who I was, but with your smile, with your kindness, and now seeing you as a model, as a role model, and having you in the same company, it is amazing. And you coming over here and sharing your experiences, because what we see normally is the cream, is the top. What we don't see, what is behind everything, like your childhood and everything that you went through. And when we say, oh, I want to be like Minerva, I want to be like this, well, are you willing to put out the work? That is the main thing. But Minerva, I just want to congratulate you. I celebrate you on your success, and I thank you. Thank you for being yourself. Thank you for sharing with us.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm going to say one thing to that. And I think there are people that you meet in your life, throughout your life, really back in what you're saying pretty much, that many times don't even realize. And I had a scenario where I told someone how much they made an impact for me, and they were just flabbergasted, because they did not know, but they made such an impact on, you know, how I wanted to be as a person, how I wanted to you know, do business, etc. And you know, and I have an old mentor that and Lauren is the guy. I went and met with him last summer, and you know, and I finally kind of told him all that, and it was only about 2 years of my life that he led me. He was a boss of mine, executive vice president of Realogy, had a very high level job, but you know, there are decisions to this day that I make that he influenced, and he had no idea. And so, you know, I would urge all of us, including myself, you know, let those people know, because a lot of times they don't even realize that. So
there was an ending I wanted to say before we close out.
oh, please.
It says, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs one step at a time. So that's what I always tell people, is you got to just take one step at a time. You'll get there, but it's just how bad you want it sometimes. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so
Well, thank
much.
you,
This was
Frank.
great. I
So
hope
can I just share something real quick? I just want to say that there's a big difference between most of us agents that have been in the business and somebody like Minerva. I know Minerva since she started. We were at the same company back then, and we had a lot of opportunities from open house and everything. But one of the things that when you see Minerva, it's like, yeah, a lot of us, we can say we've been in the business 20 years or more, but it's very hard to stay this long, but maintain the level of success that every year it's getting better and better and better and better. And I see Minerva, it's like, she's going on this direction. And for most of us, even I don't care if you tell me I've been in business 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, most of us, we've seen, peaks and valleys going up and all over the charts. But Minerva, she's kind of like consistent, going up, going up. That's a different trajectory than most of us that we can say we've been in the business for 20 years. Because being in the business 20 years doesn't mean anything compared to just being, on the right trajectory, I think. And that's a big accomplishment for Minerva.
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you. And I'm making some changes, and I haven't really said anything yet. It's a little bit of a secret, but you'll see hopefully by the end of this year, early next year. Oh no,
Okay.
no, I'm staying here. But you have to reinvent the wheel like we talked about. And there's at times when you say, you know what, I want to try something a little different. I want to do something. So this year was getting a coach. I hadn't had a coach in a long time, so it was nice getting a coach. But there's, I think you've just got to get out there and try new things. Don't be afraid to get out there and do it. I have a bucket list. And so sometimes I have things on my bucket list where I say, I've got to do this before the end of this year. And I'm determined to do it. One of them, last year I had we do the vision board. And on my vision board was to buy a real estate. And it was already, we were in November. And I thought, darn it, my vision board, I see my little, my real estate, the little house there on there. And so I went and put up an offer on a house before the end of the year. I was determined to get a house before the end of the year. Yeah, it was October, November where I started looking. So sometimes putting a vision board, putting something in front of you that pushes you, that tells you you're not going to end the year without doing that, will push you to do it. So I even push myself.
That's great. That's great. All right. Final last call. I feel like I'm that bar that keeps pushing the last call. Of course, I haven't been.
Hey, Frank and Minerva.
Hey,
Just
Robbie.
real quick, I'm on your team, so I gush about you all the time, but Minerva is an outstanding team leader. She's very open. There's different types of teachers and trainers out there. If you just talk to Minerva, she's probably, with an issue or a problem in real estate, she's probably come across it. And she'll share her experiences with you, which will help you in the long run. So we just love Minerva. She's, again, a great friend, a great coach. Those things she mentioned about opening up a business account has been invaluable to me. The vision board has been invaluable to me. So if you just hang around the greatness, you'll be great. And that's what I'm trying to do with Minerva, because she's just awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minerva.
Thank you.
Ronnie, that's awesome. Yeah, old saying, and I really truly believe that. I'm not even a golfer, but you're going to play better golf when you surround yourself with better golfers. And I think that just rings true, Rodney. Exactly what you said. I think you are who you hang around, and so I want to hang around with winners, or now I also want to hang around with people that want to be winners. We all have our starts. We've all had our ups and our downs and our ebbs and flows and things like that. So I think at the end of the day, it's about that mindset. So who else? Anybody? All right, I'm going to end it now. I was going to say, because we could just keep going. Thank you again.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
This was great. We will be doing this, like I said, just about every week. I don't have an announcement yet on who's going to be on our call next week, but we will let you know, and obviously get all the announcements out. Thank you for sharing. Please pass this on, and if you'd like to nominate someone or yourself, if you'd like to share, don't feel like you're asking too much if you ask to be on it. We would love to spotlight as many agents as we can. So
absolutely.
You guys have a great.
Thank you, Mari. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, everyone. Alberto. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. My wife says she should interview me next week. I don't think I want to bore everybody, honey. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.